All right, this is a chapter 1 video for Com 381. Dr. Frinsky, I think that's how we say it. Chapter 1 kind of dove in the book this week. A lot of leadership, a lot of stuff that I'm really interested in, which is unique, and I really enjoyed it. Opposed to 95% of other things that I do in college. I actually enjoyed this, and it actually had some decent depth and things to understand. And I think chapter 1 reading assignment was very open-ended, and but at the same time we were able to gather, or I was able to gather useful information and kind of leadership as a whole, and how we use that leadership, and what a leader is, and how that process kind of looks. So I made a few notes to go by here because I knew I couldn't go 5 minutes off the top of my head. So these are kind of a few things that I noted. And leadership is a fundamental element of the human condition. And then it kind of goes into how wherever society is, wherever people are, leadership exists. And that's a real thing, no matter where people are at. And it makes sense, but at the same time, it's kind of unique when you think about no matter what you've done in your life or where you've been or where you're going, there's going to be some sort of leadership most times for that process to work. And this is not from the chapter, but just something that, I'll reference my dad quite a bit in these videos just because he's a leader in his workplace, and I take a lot of stuff from him, and I think it's very unique that the way this class is set up, and something he would actually really enjoy. And he always says that people want to be led. And when I read that about, society, wherever society is, that leadership exists, this point came to my head directly, that he's always told me my whole life that people want to be led. And, that whether it's athletes or students or even professors, people want to be led. People want to, have some structure, and that's human nature. So then you kind of got in, the next part of the reading was the primary terms to define leadership, which I think it's a really hard thing to define, but this is kind of the 4 that they came up with. Is leadership is about who you are, how you act, what you do, and how you work with others. And most of the time, I think leadership is misinterpreted in the fact that, say it's a baseball team, that, maybe it's your best player. That's not always the case. Your best player, or maybe your best professor, or the best student in the class might not be the leader of that class. But, well, I'll go into that later. But so my next point was leadership can be assigned in most. And it can be assigned, and in most cases I feel like it is assigned. But in the situations that I've been in, those leaders that are assigned, if they're not the true leaders, then it doesn't matter. And, I'll give you an example is, I've played 4 years of college baseball, and on every team, somebody's labeled a captain. But the way the book kind of breaks down, and the way I break down, leadership, it's not something that a coach or an administrator can put and say, this is your leader, this is who, you'll follow. Because in a baseball sense, it's the guys in the locker room and guys that, it's whoever the guys gravitate to in my situation. And, a lot of the times that person isn't the best player, but, I thought that was unique and kind of connects well with this chapter and what their focus was. So then it says here, leaders focus on communication. And pretty straightforward there. I like that. That stuck out to me. And leadership is how you interact with others, which I think is everything. In business and life and work, whatever you're doing, I think that leadership is required and very important. And but it's how you interact with others. It's not your role or what you're supposed to do or what somebody tells you to do. It just kind of happens almost. And so my next point was many leaders are great storytellers, which kind of clicked with me because because the leaders in my life and the coaches I've had, or the teammates, it's very true that good storytelling and being able to connect with people is everything. And if you don't have that, then I don't think you're a leader. And I'm at my 5-minute mark, but I got a few more points here. Leaders know how to utilize emotions at all organizational levels, and I'll end with this. And it kind of gives five points to kind of counter that. And perception and expression of emotion, attending to the emotion of others, emotional facilitation of thinking, understanding and analyzing emotional info, and employing that info. Employing that info, which I thought was the best point of all these. Because, I'll go to the fifth one here. Regulation of emotion was the fifth one. But I think a true leader is defined by number 4 right here, understanding and analyzing emotional information and employing that information. Somebody in the workplace, somebody you're working with, they're going through something. If you can really sit in their shoes and understand what they're going through and what that person needs, that's going to give you all the information that you could ever need to help that person. But most, bad leaders in the sense of, what I've seen, bad leaders, they hear what you're saying, but they don't truly sit there and listen to what you're saying and understand it and try to put themselves in that situation. Big or small, whatever it is, a good leader is going to put themselves in their workers' shoes or whatever it is and truly try to break down and understand what's wrong. And, the leaders in my life that have been strong and people that stick out to me, that's very true. And, no matter what I was going through, I'll just use this example to kind of wrap it up is I lost my mom a year ago. And I was at a school in Montgomery, Alabama, playing ball, and the leader, our head coach, couldn't ever relate to what I was going through. So, as much as he tried to understand it, it was hard because he didn't take these steps to sit back and understand. And there's been other coaches and other people, but I think it's very important, and these guidelines kind of lay it out well, but I think it's very important to really know who you're working with, and people want to be led. And I hope I did this first one right.